everybody. Everyone, say hello to your friends at home. Hi. Awesome. We are continuing our conversation about constitutional underpinnings, and hopefully we'll make some progress today with this, starting from the current slide. These are economic issues in the Constitution. Again, issues that relate to the nation's economy. Here we go. Awesome. It's coming. It's coming, all right. There we go. All right, awesome. Things that the states cannot do, they are prohibited to do. 1, coin money or issue paper money. Yes, you may. Coin money or issue paper money. Remember, guys, this was a big deal because it messed up commerce, and it messed up the economy in the new states because they all had different forms of currency. So I'm showing up to Pennsylvania to buy a cheesesteak, but I can't buy it because I have a New Jersey dollar, right? With different values and things of that nature. States cannot tax imports or exports from abroad or from other states because only the national government or the federal government can actually deal with like foreign affairs and deal with foreign nations. The states cannot require payment of debts in paper money, and states were expected to respect civil court judgments and contracts made in other states, and at this point in time to return runaway slaves from other states. Now, this gets interesting. Is that coming up next? I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so you guys are going to have to, I'm going to write it on the board, but this is super important that you understand this. Let's see. Will you be able to see this here? We'll figure it out. Okay, so this is so important, respecting civil court judgments and contracts made in other states. This is important because, therefore, think about it. Before gay marriage was legalized in all 50 states, the question was, if you were married in, let's say, Delaware, which was one of the first states to allow gay marriage, I believe. If you were married in Delaware and then you traveled back to Pennsylvania, are you no longer married? Right? That was the question. But you have to respect civil court judgments and other contracts made in other states. If you sign a contract to pay your student loans to LaSalle University, and then you decide, oh, I'm going to run away and move to California, those loans still exist and you have to pay them, even though you're in different states. A driver's license, right? If I'm driving throughout Pennsylvania and then I drive into New Jersey, I don't have to have a New Jersey driver's license. I have one from Pennsylvania, and New Jersey has to honor that. And number 2, you have to return runaway slaves from other states. This became problematic when the North really began its abolition movement, because then slaves would flee to the North, and it was by law, states were required to return runaway slaves back to their owners. Any questions about this stuff? This brings us to something that's really important, and I'm pretty sure, yes, you already read about it. We already looked at the necessary and proper clause, which is already known as the what? Necessary and proper clause, which is also known as what? The elastic clause. Because why? Why is the necessary and proper clause called the elastic clause? Because the elastic clause stretches the power of the federal government. The elastic clause stretches the power of the federal government. The anti-federalists didn't like this because they were afraid. They were afraid of the national government having too much power. The Federalists said, no, this is a good idea. We'll be able to pass legislation. We'll be able to get things done faster. The government will be able to operate more smoothly. And the anti-federalists are like, no way. We can't do that. But the Articles of Confederation, they were so weak. And what James Madison is saying is, listen, we really need to give the central government more power if we want it to operate. So the elastic clause stretches the power of the federal government. And this is the necessary and proper clause. I never took attendance. It's okay. The Commerce Clause, girls, the Commerce Clause. You guys probably already have this. I'm hoping that you do. But it gives the federal government the power to regulate commerce. With foreign nations and other states. Okay, that's the Commerce Clause. Elastic Clause, also the necessary and proper. And then, that's what I'm going to do. So, in addition to all this, we have what is called the full faith and credit clause. Now, the full faith and credit clause is different because it talks about, it's Article 4. So Article 4, we're going to probably go over it, but I want to make sure that we have it. It's called the full faith and credit clause. Basically, what the full faith and credit clause means, what it serves to do is that it requires states to be open about their laws, and it encourages states to respect each other's laws. It also requires that the citizens of each state shall be entitled to all privileges and immunities of citizens in the several states. So basically what this says is that states can't play favorites. States can't play favorites with the people living in their states. So if I am from Florida, or if I am from Massachusetts and I go to Philadelphia and I say, boo, Eagles, you stink, and then I get beat up at the Lincoln Financial parking lot, right? The police still have to come and help me. They can't say, oh no, boo, that person's from New England, we're not helping them. No, the police, you are entitled to the same privileges and immunities from the other states. If I'm coming up from Florida and I get, beat up in, wherever in Philadelphia, the police have to come and help. I'm trying to think. Basically, it just says that regardless of what state you are from, when you enter into a state, you have the same privileges and immunities and protections of the people that live in that state. So, this talks about the relations among states. And also, if you, bless you. It requires that states respect the contracts and the laws made in other states, and it respects, basically like contracts and decisions. Like I said, if a contract is signed elsewhere, you have to honor it in your state. Relations among the states. Let's see. Respect each other's laws. Respect each other's laws, and also all citizens enjoy the same privileges and immunities. So if I have an asthma attack and I am in New Hampshire, then I'm entitled for an ambulance to come and help me even though I don't live there. It's not like, hey, you don't pay taxpayer dollars in New Hampshire. The police is a state-funded program, or the police is a city-funded program. We're not coming to help you. You don't even pay taxes here. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Okay, girls at home, you want to just look at this and pause it. I don't know how that would work, but I look like an idiot. Okay, you get the gist. Other key problems, the new government assumed that the debt contracted under the Articles of Confederation, meaning not assumed as in guessed, but when we say assumed, meaning that this new federal government took on the debt that the Articles of Confederation had. Debt doesn't disappear if you owe people money, right? Slapping a new name and a new government structure on your country does not mean that your debt goes away. So this new government, as it was formed, was already in debt from the American Revolution. And another key provision was that a Republican form of government was guaranteed. It was guaranteed. Any questions about this stuff? This is pretty straightforward. Full faith and credit clause is important, and that's Article 4 of the Constitution. Article 1 gives powers to the House and the Senate. That's Article 1, right? That's like your necessary and proper clause. And remember, the necessary and proper clause, girls, like the elastic clause, this idea over here, that's an implicit power. Right? Because it's implied, the necessary and proper clause, it implies the other powers. I feel like okay. Yep. Okay. Implicit powers. When you think of implicit powers, just think of like implied powers. Do we have all this down? Stuff's pretty basic. A Republican form of government. When you have a Republican form of government, what does it look like? When you have a Republican form of government, what does it look like? What are some key factors that are kind of built into it? Emily?
There's no small factions. It's like.
So we want a big population, right? We want a big population. And the idea with factions is that when there's a lot, when we don't want only two. We don't want only two because then they will war against each other. We want a big enough population within the Republic that there are multiple factions. There's the drama faction, there's the tennis faction, there's the pastry arts club faction, there's the softball faction. There are so many different factions that everybody will feel represented in government. But if there were two big factions, we would worry because it would and then end up being drama versus sports, or end up being history department versus biology department. But when there are many different factions, that's good because everybody feels represented in government, and the majority has the rule, but the minority rights are still protected. With the Republican government, what we will see is a government where the people are the main source of government authority, right? Popular sovereignty, right? The people are the main source of government authority, but with a Republican form of government, it's not like a democracy. It's not a pure democracy. In a pure democracy, every individual person participates in government directly, right? That's casting your vote for your ice cream or your water ice. And then the decision is made after counting them all up. In a representative government, we have or a Republican form of government, we see representative government where we elect representatives to represent us, and that's what a Republican government looks like. So it's not direct like a democracy. It's indirect rule. The executive, that was all, everything that you just did was all Article 1. Article 2. What time is it?
This was for you, or is that the?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. All right. Full faith and credit clause, right? That's enjoying the privileges and immunities, state to state, regardless of your, home state. Now, Article 2, girls, the executive branch. This is where the president is. The president is the leader of the executive branch. You have to be 35 years old. You must be a natural born citizen. And you must be a resident of the United States for at least 14 years. The president is commander-in-chief. He oversees and manages the military. Even though he's the commander-in-chief, he cannot declare war. Congress declares war. Just keep that in mind. As head of the state, the president receives foreign ambassadors and sends U.S. ambassadors abroad, people that represent the United States in other countries. Look at all these presidents. Oh, rest in peace, 41. 41. So this is everybody. This is Barack Obama. You know who this is? Bush, right? This is Bush's dad. He was the 41st president of the United States, and he was the 43rd. And so they call him 41, they call him 43, but he passed away in 2018. I was working at Comcast at the time, and I've always been a history loser. And while I was at Comcast working, I put on the funeral and I live streamed it, and I was like crying at my desk. Literal loser. But I got paid to do it, so yeah. I don't know who that is on the end. Who is that? Oh, I'll Google it when you leave.
I've seen
Yeah.
it.
Huh. Lyndon. Oh, Lyndon.
Wait, guess what?
What's up?
So if you basically, live in the US for, like, the beginning of your life, move somewhere else, and then come back and be president right away?
I think it's consecutive years.
Oh.
I think it's consecutive years. It's a good question, though. I'll have to look that up. And the question was, like, years ago with John McCain. John McCain ran against Barack Obama in 2008. Really cool election year. But John McCain was born on a military base that was not on U.S. soil. So they're like, can he even run for president? And they're like, yes, he can run for president. He is a citizen of the United States. He was just born on a military base, which is considered still the United States. Someone had their hand up. Go ahead.
So are these the requirements to run?
Yes. Well, up here, so there must be 35 natural born citizen resident. Those are the requirements. But then below are just kind of like responsibilities that they have, that the executive branch has. Any questions about this? Okay. Does anybody want to run for president someday? No? Got it. I feel like it wouldn't be that hard.
You should do it.
Maybe that's what I'll do next. Oh, I'm too young. I'm too young. That was good. Maybe I'll start out as a state representative. You only have to be 25. Maybe I'll do that.
What if we did a project,
Mm-hmm.
just for fun? I think this would be fun, but it could be serious, but I think it's fun. So what if we each got to pick, like, executive branch, judicial branch, or
Branch, yep, you got it.
legislative branch, and we got to pick a current, like, or a past person from that branch that we find interesting. Like, I would do AOC because I find her very interesting.
Mhm.
And we could, like, incorporate our curriculum and, like, a little, like.
That would be fun. I feel like we need to do something to change it up. I'll look at that. Yeah, that would be really fun, because then you can talk about like what powers she has in her position, what checks and balances, and like what, yeah, that would be cool. I'll look at it, I'll look at that this weekend. That would be fun, at least just to change things up. Maybe that would be really cool for that would be really cool for a virtual day too, to like, so you guys aren't just like reading and writing, even though that's key. I like that idea. So Article 3 establishes the judiciary or the judicial branch. Right, this is, the framers only mention the Supreme Court, but they empower Congress to create lower courts. So basically, the judicial branch is only the Supreme Court. However, there are lower courts, right? Not every court case goes to the Supreme Court. In fact, rarely any go. Federal courts have jurisdiction over cases involving federal laws, disputes between states, and concerns that involve government officials. The president, you guys know this already, but the president appoints Supreme Court and federal justices with approval from the Senate, and they serve life terms. Basically, president nominates, and Congress has to approve of it, and then. The Senate has to approve of this appointment, bless you, and then the person is confirmed and they serve a life term on the Supreme Court for the rest of their life or until they want to retire, which is why Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she left the vacancy because she served until she died.
So why is it called a life term if they can retire?
Because they will never be. They will never, they don't have to run for it, like they don't have to get elected, they just get nominated and then they're good for life. Like, it's not like, there's no such thing as like a term limit. That's pretty much, the life terms is supposed to just make sure that we all understand that there's no term limit on a Supreme Court justice. President appoints the person. And there are, like I said, there are lower courts that handle cases that do involve federal laws. And then there's super serious ones like Marbury versus Madison go to the Supreme Court. Go ahead.
Could like
One second,
someone,
guys. Okay, sorry.
so would anyone from the judicial branch like leave their position? Like, would they ever leave?
Yeah, they would never leave to pursue something greater because there's nothing else. But they would, for example, they will retire when they think that their time is up.
So like, do you remember? So none of them would ever like run for president, but would congressmen or like people of the legislative branch, would they like run for president later?
Oh, 100%. Most presidents have served in either the Senate or the House of Representatives. For example, President Barack Obama served in the Senate. Most of them served in Congress before becoming president. I'm not sure how many haven't, but like, for example, President Trump did not serve in the House or Senate before his election. But I'm trying to think. Who else did it? Most presidents have served in the legislative branch. Go ahead, Mina.
So for a case to make it up to the judicial branch?
They can't decide on it. They're stuck when it gets appealed or when it gets. So if you're in the federal courts and the person appeals the case, it goes to the next higher court, which is when it would go to the Supreme Court.
So just like, has there ever been a case where it just goes straight to the Supreme Court?
No, it has to go through the rest of them. Okay, yep, so that's that. What time is it? What time does this end? So far we know the following, girls. We have to keep this in mind. we know that Article 1, what does Article 1 establish? Da-da-da. Legislative branch, right? Also known as, give me a C. Oh, I heard it, Congress, yes. Okay. What does Article 2 establish? Executive branch, which is the who?
The president.
The president and his cabinet. And Article 3 establishes what? Judicial branch, right? So Article 1 establishes the legislative branch. That also includes our Commerce Clause, our necessary and proper clause, and our enumerated powers. And it also includes what it cannot do. So Article 1 establishes the legislative branch, gives it duties, and that's where we're going to find things like, that are related to the powers of Congress. So that's why the necessary and proper clause is in here. The Commerce Clause is in here. The Commerce Clause, necessary and proper clause. What's the other one? The enumerated powers, which basically are just those listed powers that I showed you. They are specifically listed. Whereas the necessary and proper clause is an implicit power, an implied power. Okay, great. Just a little review. Do you want to screenshot that, whatever? Okay. This is your full faith and credit clause. I wanted to make sure that we got to it earlier if we didn't get to it today. Yeah.
Are there any requirements, for judicial branch? Like, do they have to be formed in the United States?
So a lot of them, so for the judicial branch, you don't have to be a native born or a natural born citizen. But for the judicial branch, you have to obviously be a judge. And typically you have to be a judge on a federal court already, and then they pull from there, and you get pulled from there to serve in the highest court. Because it wouldn't make sense to appoint somebody from the lower court, because you want the people that are most experienced and the best at their job. So girls, this is Article 4. Again, this is your full faith and credit clause. This is your full faith and credit clause. We looked at this earlier. Yeah.
We have to write the quote.
No, you don't have to write the quote. You're good. Because girls, this quote is in your book. So if you want to write that down, you don't have to. But this is literally in your book. And it defines the relationship between the states, meaning that you have to honor other state constitutions. You have to make sure that every person in your state is entitled to the privileges and immunities of the citizens that live there year round. And also the full faith and credit clause basically says if you committed a crime in the state of Pennsylvania and you flee to Florida, you are still wanted, and Florida can extradite you to Pennsylvania, meaning that you can just get sent to jail in Pennsylvania. Okay, and girls, this is the example. If you are driving in Pennsylvania, because each state handles driver's licenses, marriage licenses, driver's licenses, things like that. Those are powers that are reserved to the states because they don't talk about them in the Constitution. Again, this is a situation where if you're driving your car through Pennsylvania and you drive into New Jersey and you get pulled over, and they're like, this is a New Jersey license, doesn't matter. Honors, licenses, contracts, and laws from other states. So if okay, ready? Article 5. Article 5 describes the amendment process, and I'm not sure if we're even gonna have enough time to finish this, But, Article 5 talks about the amendment process. So, let me move my little head. There are two ways, so this is the process, remember girls? If, under the Articles of Confederation, if we wanted to change anything, we needed everybody to approve of each change. It's just not possible. So here we have two different ways that we can propose an amendment and ratify it. Proposing it just means, putting it out there, seeing if people agree with it in order for it to go to the next step. To ratify it means to approve it and sign it into law. So, with that being said, there are two different ways. Let's make sure that this goes into it. Let's go. Doesn't, okay. Yes, here it is. Okay. Yes. There are two different ways of amending the Constitution. The first thing you have to do to amend the Constitution is to propose an amendment. So your first step is the proposal. Propose. And to amend something really just means to change it, girls, to make a change, make an amendment. Proposed in two ways. It can be proposed by Congress, meaning the House of Representatives and the Senate, but you need at least 2/3 approval from each house. Okay, so stay with me. That's in order to propose it. That's one way. That's one way. Or to propose an amendment. The second way is by national convention. NTL just means national. And this national convention would be called by Congress. The request, this is where it gets different, of 2/3 of the state legislatures. All right? Okay, and so these are the two different ways to propose an amendment. Now, if you want to propose an amendment, you can get 2/3 approval from each house in Congress, or Congress will call a national convention if 2/3 of the state legislatures agree to it. Okay, two different ways. By approval from Congress and by a national convention. All right, those are the two ways. That's just a proposing amendment. When we get to ratifying it, we have two separate ways to ratify it as well. If I put it down here, will you be able to see it? Okay. How much time do we have left? Are we done? We're finished? Like I should be wiping the desks down now? Mm-hmm. Okay, in order to ratify it, you just need to, this is all you need to do to ratify it. All you have to do is you can ratify it by getting 3/4 of the states to approve, right? Very easy. Or it can be ratified by conventions. It's basically the same thing. This is the first way, this is the second way, and it mirrors this. Or you can ratify it by convention, all right? And that's in 3/4 of the states. Okay. See, it's just like the same, it's just like the same. You propose it this way, you can probably ratify it this way. If you propose it this way, you can ratify it that way. Right? They wanted to make it easier to pass laws, but not so easy that we can, put the risk of our Constitution at the hands of the majority, right? Because we're kind of afraid of the majority. Too much power. Okay, girls, so that's all I have for you today. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please let me know. I will post homework tonight. It's really just going to be reading. So, get to that whenever you can this weekend. And then we'll be ready to go on Monday. All right, good job this week. Way to come to school and get it done. Yeah.